is consumerism a real problem? Now, does anybody here know what consumerism means? Anyone? Well, in case you don't know, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it is a theory that an increasing consumption of goods is economically desirable. But exactly what does this mean? Well, basically, it is a way of thinking that the more you buy, the happier you are. And that is not necessarily true. I mean, consumerism also causes environmental problems, financial ones, and many more. So, how can we relate to this problem? Now, there are many ways that we can relate, because I know some of you may identify with some of these pictures. But let's start with overconsumers. Now, an overconsumer is an actually really simple concept. What is it? Basically, someone who buys, purchases, or acquires a good that is basically a product or a service just in really large quantities. And sometimes it is not that necessary. I mean, have you ever heard or solved any mathematical problems that say something like, Johnny buys 87 soaps? I mean, why does he need so many soaps? Isn't that like not useful? I mean, maybe I should mind my own business, but nobody needs that many. That's quite weird. Now, another concept that you can identify with are people who have a shopping addiction. Now, sometimes I identify myself with this term, even though I'm not a shopaholic. But how do you know if you're a shopaholic, if you have an addiction, or anything of that sort? Well, basically, when you get the urge to spend your money or to buy something, like, I don't know, I mean, I had just a really stressful day, I just cannot handle myself. What if I buy myself a book? Or maybe a coffee, or maybe anything that smells like something good. And when you lose control over yourself is when it turns into a problem. And not only for you, it also turns into a problem for the rest of you. Now, the last, and I know this is a really popular one, really big contributor, is fast fashion. Now, in case you live under a rock, fast fashion basically is when clothing industries produce a massive amounts of clothing. And it is just to fit into trends that may last a week long. And it is called cheap fashion or fast fashion because it is made out of really cheap materials. So basically it goes to waste into a really long time. So it's not necessary. Now, how does this whole thing affect us? Now, it can affect us in many ways. For example, it causes a lot of environmental problems. Now, what do you mean, Andrea? What is going on? Well, basically, environmental problems, I mean that consumerism creates a lot of pollution. It doesn't matter if it is on the earth, on the air, on the water. It causes pollution everywhere. It's frustrating, and it is scary. Now, we know that the products that we usually buy come into plastic bags or plastic anything. And the thing about plastic, and it has a really great quality, is that it lasts a long time. I mean, it's amazing, it's quite durable. But it is also its worst quality, because it lasts for at least 1,000 years on the earth. So isn't that quite scary? I mean, I know that we have all seen that turtle that of a bit, opposite turtle that has like a little straw into its nose, and it's quite heartbreaking. I mean, nobody wants to see that. Why would you watch that video? I mean, nobody wants to see that. Now, the thing about plastic is that it also turns into microplastics. Now, did you guys know that us humans consume microplastics by the size of a credit card every day? I mean, isn't that scary? I mean, we all know that that does not belong into our bodies. I mean, nobody needs plastic inside ourselves. Well, in case you're a Kardashian, but that doesn't really matter. Now, another way that it can affect us is that it causes really bad working conditions. Now, what do you mean? Well, basically, I mean that the whole consumerism things create an on-demand culture. Basically, it needs workers to be available 24/7, causing stress, causing health problems, and if that is not enough, well, basically, that culture exploits workers because they don't get paid fairly. And now, the last way that this thing affects us is basically causes financial problems. Now, I know nobody in here is, oh my God, I do not have financial problems. I mean, who has them? You're so dumb. No, we all have them, and that is due because we do not know how to administrate our money. Like, I am a teenager, so I do not have an income. So I don't work. My parents do not give me money, and that is not personal. I don't have an issue with you, Mom. But how am I going to spend money that I do not have? I mean, what if I spend much money then? I mean, I only have 600 pesos, and what am I gonna spend that? I mean, that's quite ridiculous. Now, if we do not know how to administrate our money, how are we gonna spend it? Now, don't worry, this whole talk isn't only about bad news. Here comes my favorite part, and it is how to overcome consumerism. Now, there are many ways that we can overcome consumerism, and you may be like, oh my God, it is a huge problem. We're gonna die, all of us. No, we are not. But we need to work together because if we work as individuals, we will not come with a solution, or at least not that quickly. So what can you do? You can shop smartly. And the way that you can do it is asking yourself questions. For example, I'm gonna give you a thing that I usually do. So, I go out to the mall, and I go to my favorite store, and I see this beautiful hot pink dress. And I'm like, oh my God, I mean, it's hot pink. Who doesn't want it? So I decide to try it on. Looks amazing on me. It fits my waist perfectly, that I look like a Kardashian, even though I do not have a Kardashian body. So I will be like, oh my God, should I buy it? Or maybe not. I mean, it looks gorgeous, but I know I shouldn't. Well, here's when the questions come in handy. Now, the first question that you can ask is, do I need it? Now, sometimes I am not satisfied with that answer, so I skip to the next question, which it is, do I own something alike? Now, me, personally, I do. I mean, I already own 2 pink dresses. One of them is pale pink, and the other one is hot pink. And they both fit me really well in the waist, so I basically already have that dress. But let's say that I want to buy a vacuum. I can ask myself if I can borrow it or maybe rent it from someone. Or I call this question the deal breaker, and it is, will this affect my financial problems or goals? And this is the toughest question. But actually, you can ask many more that are not that tough so that you don't deal a lot with that thing. Now, another thing that you can do is getting away from ads. I mean, I know I'm not the only one that wakes up one day, opens their phone, starts scrolling, and I see an advertising. And I'm like, oh my God, please stop. So I changed social media, more advertising, and I'm like, oh my God, okay, I'm gonna shut you off. I don't want you here. So I decide to open my computer, maybe turn on the TV, the radio, or I even decide to go outside. And there are many more advertising, and I just get so stressed, so frustrated, so even angry. And I'm like, well, what can I do? Well, we all know that advertising are made for us to buy stuff. Now, if we don't buy, or we don't want to, or we don't have any plans to buy anything, well, why are we watching ads? Isn't it so simple for us to turn them off? Now, I am here because, well, because it is my project, but also because I want you guys to think about this whole talk when you go out to buy something. So yeah, you can shop smartly. And I believe that us, Gen Z, have a lot of potential to make a better world. Now, I think that if we know what problems we're going to front and we have an idea of how to overcome them, well, basically, we have a better future. We will have and we will make it and we will obtain it. And I think that we have a lot of hope and greatness in this generation. So my name is Andrea Sotomayor, and now I changed the talk, well, the title of my TED Talk, and it is basically, Consumerism is a real problem, and we now know how to overcome it.